JD Gershbein is founder and CEO of Owlish Communications, which provides trusted thought partnership, personal branding guidance, and LinkedIn advisory services. He's been doing incredible work during the whole COVID-19 era that we're in right now. He's targeted at professionals navigating a pivot, a rebrand, or a side hustle. People like myself who are trying to evolve into something new. He's a really cool guy. I like talking with him. He pulls no punches. He's a truth teller. JD, you've been spending an awful lot of time and giving an awful lot of great advice about LinkedIn. And this show, anytime a new episode comes out, it in essence premieres on LinkedIn. The channel itself is on YouTube now, and I'm trying to drive subscriptions and whatnot. But as far as LinkedIn is concerned, and you might see this in spades, but just kind of getting your opinion, where are people going wrong, like right now? I know there's probably a history of it, but where are people going wrong right now with LinkedIn?
Well, I would rather be the guiding light than the voice of doom. I applaud the effort, and I'm seeing a lot of effort out there. And it truly is the wild, wild west because we are taping this 5 months into a global pandemic where the world has basically gone virtual and everybody is leaning into LinkedIn. And we now start to think of ourselves as existing out there in the virtual space. So we do that through content, and there's been an incredible mobilization toward video, and people are producing it in any number of ways. Some of it ill-conceived, some of it well-produced. I'm a bit of a content snob, Dave. I know there's a school of thought out there that says we should be authentic
Yes.
and it's okay to go out there without shaving for 2 weeks and letting the hair grow and being in a grease stained t-shirt so that you can really let people into your world. But I believe in thinking it through and rehearsing and being prepared on camera, investing in a good set, in a good space to broadcast. And if we're going to go out there and parse out our value, we better look the part as leaders.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think all too many times people think it's just a turn it on and go type of thing. My background is actually in film and video production. That's how old school I am. And there are just some fundamental blocking and tackling things you've got to get done. Your audio has to be clear. Your image has to be lit. You know what I mean? And it's just hopefully more and
It
more
looks so
people.
easy until you get out there and you turn on the webcam and then you're a bit of a deer in the headlights and maybe you think, well, maybe I should have practiced a little bit before I went
Yeah,
on the air.
exactly. Another question. Anybody who spends any time talking to you knows how much you value and pursue this whole. I'll call it the church of improv. Let's say, and you've studied improv and you've done an awful lot of work in it. What role does improv play in your professional life, like right now?
Dave, I've improvised my whole career and improvised my whole life up until this point. I'm one of those practitioners that just doesn't work off a roadmap or a blueprint. Every day is different. And I think as an entrepreneur, I've already, by definition, accepted some modicum of risk in my life. I put myself out there in 2006 at a time when nobody was really moving into new businesses. We were at the headwaters of the recession. I didn't know where my next piece of business as a marketer was coming from. And then the social media revolution hit. And I saw this site called LinkedIn, and I didn't know what it was at first. I kind of innovated and improvised around it, kind of seeing some value in it right away, and started to talk it up a little bit within my own circles.
Mhm.
And I had to wait for things to happen. And in the meantime, I bided my time and I improvised. I found things to do. I wrote some content. I was plugging away at the search engines. And when LinkedIn, well, became LinkedIn, guess who was the guy coming
Right,
up in search?
right.
And then it forced me again to improvise. So applied improvisation, which is an up and coming field, it really plays into our decision making, our creativity, our critical thinking, our rationale, just how we navigate the universe at this point.
Hmm.
We're all improvising and
Yeah,
we could all benefit with the basic premise of just how we get through with our scene partners, our
sure.
transaction partners, our families, our friends.
I've always been more comfortable with a bullet point list or approach than like a script.
Mhm.
Anytime we enter the whole realm of scripting or word for word, I get really nervous.
Me
I
too.
don't know. And my
Me
final,
too.
right? I mean, my
I'm much
final.
better when I don't know what's coming.
Well, yeah, you're better at that than I am. I'm you know, I like to have the freedom to sort of identify kind of superstructures in the fog, you know what I mean, or forests in the distance, and take an approach. But I it's just that when it gets down to the atomic, this word followed by this word followed by this word, almost like a mathematical formula, I that doesn't work for me. Just saying. My final
Gotcha.
question to you is the one I ask everybody, lucky you, which is JD, what lessons have we learned during all this crazy high flux time that going forward, we must not forget?
Well, truthfully, within a global pandemic, there are blessings within the curse, and everybody's got one. And that's blessing versus silver lining. I think what we've learned is that you have to approach people on some kind of service level and some kind of wellness level. And that cliche that people are fighting their own battles that you can't or don't see is so true, because we're very polished in our presentations. We're very contrite when we make a mistake. We don't want to offend anybody's sensibilities, but we want to go out there and do the best we can for everyone. And that means coming from a place of service and not trying to sell anybody anything that they don't need.
Hmm.
One of the things I've learned about business through 15 years of being in the trenches of social media is that people are very unfiltered at times, and they just sell and they just pitch and they just promote. And I think there's a way to do it artfully
Hmm.
and a way to do it scientifically, which is what I've espoused as a consultant in my whole practice since the time I hung out my shingle. And that is approach people like you're on an even keel with them. And nobody has any upsmanship here. We're all trying to find our way through this healthcare crisis. Uh, Ideally, we're going to land on the other side. And it's the conversations we're having right now, in the now, the new now, that are going to set us up for opportunities on the other side. So go into every Zoom call with an open mind. Make LinkedIn connections judicious in terms of connecting with them. Be courteous, be cordial, be sincere, and you'll be amazed what happens when you move from a transactional to a relational point of view.
That's fantastic. See, this is why I hang out with you.
Likewise, man,
Have
this
a
was
good
fun.
one.
Is this where I say thanks for having me?
Hold on. Now you say it.
Thanks for having me.